Awareness by Anthony DeMello. Our illusions about others. So if you stop to think, you will see that there's nothing to be very proud of after all. What does this do to your relationship with people? What are you complaining about? A young man came to complain that his girlfriend had let him down, that she had played false. What are you complaining about? Did you expect any better? Expect the worst. You're dealing with selfish people. You're the idiot. You glorified her, didn't you? You thought she was a princess. You thought people were nice. They're not. They're not nice. They're as bad as you are. Bad, you understand? They're asleep, like you. And what do you think they're going to seek? Their own self-interest, exactly like you. No difference. Can you imagine how liberating it is that you'll never be disillusioned again? Never be disappointed again? You'll never feel let down again, never feel rejected. Want to wake up? You want happiness? You want freedom? Here it is. Drop your false ideas. See through people. If you see through yourself, you will see through everyone. Then you will love them. Otherwise, you spend the whole time grappling with your wrong notions of them, with your illusions that are constantly crashing against reality. It's probably too startling for many of you to understand that everyone, except the very rare awakened person, can be expected to be selfish and to seek his or her own self-interest, whether in coarse or in refined ways. This leads you to see that there's nothing to be disappointed about, nothing to be disillusioned about. If you had been in touch with reality all along, you would never have been disappointed. But you chose to paint people in glowing colors. You chose not to see through human beings because you chose not to see through yourself. So you're paying the price now. Before we discuss this, let me tell you a story. Somebody once asked, "What is enlightenment like? What is awakening like?" It's like the tramp in London who was settling in for the night. He'd hardly been able to get a crust of bread to eat. Then he reaches this embankment on the River Thames. There was a slight drizzle, so he huddled in his old tattered coat. He was about to go to sleep when suddenly a chauffeur-driven Rolls-Royce pulled up. Out of the car steps a beautiful young lady, who says to him, "My poor man, are you planning on spending the night here on this embankment?" And the tramp says, "Yes." She says, "I won't have it. You're coming to my house, and you're going to spend a comfortable night, and you're going to get a good dinner." She insists on his getting into the car. Well, they ride out of London and get to a place where she has a sprawling mansion with large grounds. They are ushered in by the butler, to whom she says, "James, please make sure he's put in the servants' quarters and treated well," which is what James does. The young lady had undressed and was about to go to bed when she suddenly remembers her guest for the night. So she slips something on and pads along the corridor to the servants' quarters. She sees a little chink of light from the room where the tramp was put up. She taps lightly at the door, opens it, and finds the man awake. She says, "What's the trouble, my good man? Didn't you get a good meal?" He said, Never had a better meal in my life, lady. Are you warm enough? He says, yes, lovely warm bed. Then she says, maybe you need a little company. Why don't you move over a bit? And she comes closer to him, and he moves over and falls right into the Thames. Huh? Ha! You didn't expect that one. Enlightenment. Enlightenment. Wake up. When you're ready to exchange your illusions for reality, when you're ready to exchange your dreams for facts, that's the way you find it all. That's where life finally becomes meaningful. Life becomes beautiful. There's a story about Ramirez. He is old and living up there in his castle on a hill. He looks out the window. He's been in bed and paralyzed. And he sees his enemy. Old as he is, leaning on a cane, his enemy is climbing up the hill, slowly, painfully. It takes him about 2.5 hours to get up the hill. There's nothing Ramirez can do because the servants have the day off. So his enemy opens the door, comes straight to the bedroom, puts his hand inside his cloak, and pulls out a gun. He says, "At last, Ramirez, we're going to settle scores." Ramirez tries his level best to talk him out of it. He says, "Come on, Borgia. You can't do that. You know I'm no longer the man who ill-treated you as that youngster years ago. And you're no longer that youngster. Come off it." "Oh, no," says his enemy. "Your sweet words aren't going to deter me from this divine mission of mine. It's revenge. I want revenge, and there's nothing you can do about it." And Ramirez says, "But there is." "What?" asks the enemy. "I can wake up," says Ramirez. And he did. He woke up. That's what enlightenment is like. When someone tells you there's nothing you can do about it, you say, "There is. I can wake up." All of a sudden, life is no longer the nightmare it has seemed. Wake up. Somebody came up to me with a question. What do you think the question was? He asked me, "Are you enlightened?" What do you think my answer was? What does it matter? You want a better answer? My answer would be, how would I know? How would you know? What does it matter? You know something? If you want anything too badly, you're in big trouble. You know something else? If you were enlightened and you listened to me because I was enlightened, then you're in big trouble. Are you ready to be brainwashed by someone who's enlightened? You can be brainwashed by anybody you know. What does it matter whether someone's enlightened or not? But see, we want to lean on someone, don't we? We want to lean on anybody we think has arrived. We love to hear that people have arrived. It gives us hope, doesn't it? What do you want to hope for? Isn't that another form of desire? You want to hope for something better than what you have right now, don't you? Otherwise, you wouldn't be hoping. But then, you forget that you have it all right now anyway, and you don't know it. Why not concentrate on the now instead of hoping for better times in the future? Why not understand the now instead of forgetting it and hoping for the future? Isn't the future just another trap? Well, there you have it. Our illusions about others. So he starts by saying that the problem is we tend to put people up on pedestals. And this is very common when you first meet somebody. You meet somebody, you always think the best of them until they inevitably let you down. And why do they let you down? Because you're thinking the best of them. You're treating them like a princess. You're treating them like a prince. You're treating them like a perfect person. You think they're good. You think they're better than you. But in reality, they're selfish and they're going to think of their own self-interest above yours and above anything else. And this is a bitter pill to swallow. We don't want to believe that. We want to believe that this wonderful person we met is truly a wonderful person. But everybody has their good side. Everybody has their flaws. Everybody has good things about them. Everybody has bad things about them. And you have to realize that, or else they're inevitably going to let you down. Because once you meet them, they're going to be on their best behavior. They're going to show you their best qualities, and they're going to hide their worst qualities from you. They're going to agree with everything you say. They're going to tell you nice things. And you have to be careful that you don't get caught in that trap. And they do that out of their own self-interest. They want you to like them. But eventually, they'll get comfortable with you. They'll let their guard down. They're also probably seeing you in a perfect light as well. You meet a new person, you get a shower, you brush your hair, the men shave, the women put on makeup, everybody's on their best behavior, everybody's very cautious and careful of how they present themselves, and they don't want to look bad. They don't want anybody to notice their flaws. But as time goes by, we get relaxed, and the truth comes out. And sooner or later, you're going to see the bad sides of people. Everybody has a bad side. Nobody's perfect. So if you expect that, you're not going to be as disappointed as if you really believe that these people are perfect. So he says that's how you become liberated. You see the truth. Realize the truth. Understand the truth. Drop your false ideas. And expect that these people are going to be looking out for their own best interest. And if they see a better deal down the road, they're going to go for it. But they don't want to hurt your feelings, and they don't want you to think that they're bad, so they're probably going to lie about it, and they're probably going to pretend that they're not doing that, so that you don't think badly of them, even though they're really treating you bad. So he says, if you paint people in glowing colors and you choose not to see through them, then you're not dealing with reality. So you pay the price. You pay the price for letting yourself be fooled. And you let yourself be fooled because that's your self-interest. It's more pleasurable. Seeing the truth is a bitter pill to swallow. But ultimately, it's much better to see the truth than to live in a false reality. It's like the bum. He's cold, he's hungry, it's drizzling out. He goes under the bridge, he wraps himself up in his cloak, he lies down next to the river, and as he's lying there, he closes his eyes and tries to fall asleep, and a limousine pulls up. Of course, he has fallen asleep, and now he's dreaming. He dreams the limousine pulls up. He dreams the beautiful woman takes him for a ride to her wonderful palace. All his troubles are now gone. She's going to take care of him. She gives him a bath, gets him some nice clothes, gets him a nice room to sleep in. It's nice and warm. She feeds him a big meal. She sees the lights on, goes in. Oh, are you alone? Move over. I'll come and join you in the bed. and he rolls into the river and wakes himself up. He's all wet. But at least he's dealing with the truth. He's not living in his dream world, and he's dealing with the reality of the situation. Unfortunately, knowing the reality of the situation, we still pretty much have to keep our mouths closed, because if we go around telling people the reality of the situation, there's going to be trouble. This is the whole story of the Emperor's New Clothes. Everybody's pretending. The story is the Emperor, a con man has convinced the Emperor that this new clothes can only be seen by really intelligent people. Of course, the Emperor can't see it, but he can't say that or else he'll look like a dummy. So he says, oh yes, of course it's wonderful. And then he embraces the lie, the false reality, and then all the people in his kingdom have to do the same, or else they'll expose themselves as fools. So as they're walking down, a little child points up and says, hey, that guy's naked. And of course the parents are mortified. Everybody knows he's naked, but they're all pretending, but the child didn't get the memo. The child doesn't understand. And of course, that's where the story ends. But in reality, when this sort of thing happens, that child is taken away and never seen again, and the parents are probably thrown in prison. Several years ago, I think it was like 1989 or something like that, there was a protest in Tiananmen Square in China, and there was a very iconic image of a man who stood up in front of the tanks and stopped the tanks, and basically if the tanks were to move forward, they'd have to roll over this guy and kill him. So the tank driver didn't want to do that, so the picture was taken of this guy standing up in front of the tanks. Well, he's basically like the little child who refuses to play the game. He refuses to live the lie, and he wants to live reality. But of course, that man disappeared. Nobody ever heard from him again. I believe they even renamed Tiananmen Square, and if you ask people today, where is this guy, what happened to him, the official word from the Chinese government is, what are you talking about? He never existed, even though we all know he did exist, and there's pictures. Something to think about. Anyway, this video is running long. Who loves you, baby? This guy. Remember, tough times. We're all going through tough times, but let's try to be positive. Hope you enjoyed spending some time with me. I enjoyed spending some time with you. Try to deal with reality and drop our illusions. Reality is a tough thing to deal with a lot of the time, because we live in a very unfair world. We live in a world where we have to pretend. We have to pretend everything's fine a lot of times, even though things are terrible. And we see that every day on the news. And we see that every day in our lives. People telling us they love us and treating us like garbage, things like that. But anyway, just remember, you're somebody's favorite person in this world, probably mine. And until next time, hang in there, and yeah, remember, I love you. Goodbye.